Oh my gosh, look at Triple H. As impressive a specimen as I've ever seen in wrestling. My prediction is true. They're saying that Shawn Michaels has won the Royal Rumble.
It is time for the 1995 Royal Rumble. I know I'm sexy. I've got the looks. Here is the Shawn Michaels.
Pam Anderson watching, so this was a setup for you
Yes.
and Kevin at
going
Mania.
to WrestleMania, yeah. The fun thing about this one again was Davey and I being 1 and 2. He and I had a ton of experience with one another. We were going throughout the whole thing.
Goes back and forget about it. Forget about it. Michaels has been eliminated.
And again, trying to come up with something that was a little bit different at the time. I don't know that we had ever really looked into the idea that 2 feet on the ground meant that you were eliminated. Not knowing that, again, guys like Kofi Kingston would take that whole...
Where they would actually make that whole thing to an art form.
Yeah, that 2 feet to the floor, just something that was, pales in comparison to what I did there, that's for sure.
But I think this is the interesting thing about this is sort of kind of that big start of Rumble moments, being like you could get in the Rumble and have a moment that was just as big as winning it.
Yes.
Like you could, even if Shawn had lost this year, like this moment is iconic. Like to me, if I think of the Rumble, that's what I think of. Like I think of you hanging there with that 1 foot on the ground. Like it just kind of demonstrates everything about the Rumble. But I think this was kind of that, prior to this, I think everybody just kind of went in there and you went out and you still try to tell the story of the match, but this was the beginning of the moments, of the big moments where the swerves could happen in these.
Well, and also, again, it was, you didn't feel like you could do anything real special that could be remembered unless you won it or, you were in there at the last minute. And again, this was sort of the beginning of people starting to understand that actually you could have very memorable moments, the beginning, middle, end of it, where you could have that spotlight shown upon you in a way that people remembered for quite some time. And you could do that without winning it.
And Pamela Anderson will lead Shawn Michaels into the ring at WrestleMania.
And I also have to say, on a side note, this was my first time of ever getting like a rub with like a celebrity.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes, a couple months later, would be the first time I met a certain person that together we would go and do everything we could to completely ruin the wrestling business.
Yes, to this day. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
The first entrant in the 1996 Royal Rumble from Greenwich, Connecticut, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah. I have that jacket. I was going to wear it this morning for this interview, and then I thought, you know what, sometimes the collar was chafing. I'm still wrinkly, my forehead, but it's a lot less. To me, even in my first appearance at the Rumble, the thought that they were putting me in there right out the chute, giving me that opportunity, and then I lasted a really long period of time in this and had some moments in there. So this was one of those things where, like, clearly not winning, clearly not... it's not all about me, but the moment of being able to start it, the moment of being able to be in there a long time was, I understood even at that level, like this is a moment. They're giving me a moment in this thing to get over. And here comes Shawn. Yeah, Yokozuna, who was one of my favorite guys to get in the ring with. Davey, Vader. Karma. Yeah, the ultimate fighting machine. I will tell you that is a super kick right there. Kevin did not give you the low target on that one. I remember I believe you telling me right before I went in this Rumble, he's like, look, the thing that everybody doesn't get in these things is make yourself have moments. Everybody that comes in feed him, right? So I would watch the center of the ring, and if there was a moment at any point in anything, if there was a moment where everybody was just in corners doing nothing, somebody left center stage open, I'd just head right there with somebody and call their finish.
That's right. Boom, Yep. That's exactly right. And also, making sure that camera was on you all the time.
Yeah. So this was a big one for me.
And this is an ovation. There's a man was out of action for almost 8 months. His last pay-per-view extravaganza was last May. And Austin knows this ain't gonna be pretty.
This was a big one for me because I didn't, when I got injured and was out for that period of time, it was a little bit doubtful as to my return. Could I come back? And I remember Andrews telling me that the quad injury that you have is not something that anybody comes back from.
And that's hard. Again, coming back from an injury, psychologically, what that does to you, wondering if you're going to be the same, that is a tough thing to do. And then to be put in a major,
in a big spot.
Yes. Yeah, and look and out there with Steve and everything else.
Yeah.
That's big.
Both men are driven. Both men are proud. Both men students of the game.
WWE does what it does better than anybody else on the planet, and put together the videos of me training. And I do remember distinctly, though, watching the first video and thinking, holy crap, I suck as a babyface. How am I going to do this?
No, that's the thing, right? You left as as a bad guy.
Yes. When I left, Steve and I were heels together. Steve dabbled in the heel moment, and we were the two-man power trip. And then having this comeback, Steve is now back to being top babyface, and to have that moment where I'm going to square off with him as a babyface, and get to this moment at the end with Kurt, like this was huge for me.
Well, and I'm just curious because I don't think we ever talked about it. You're in there with the number one babyface, and you're getting a big reaction. That's
it's
sometimes friction can be
100%.
come up when the top guy gets a little less reaction than the other dude.
Yeah, there's a tense moment there, and how's he going to react, and what's he going to allow to happen here, and everything else. So, this was sort of a kind of emotional roller coaster of a day of getting it, but also then getting out there and getting those reactions. And in one hand, you're getting a reaction bigger than maybe the big baby face, and you're happy about that. On the other hand, like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Angle in trouble! Angle in trouble! It's over! It's over! It's the game!
I'd never really been a baby face, so trying to figure out where those moments go and how do you do that, and how do you do it without, your big fear is that you have this babyface moment, but now it's not what got you there. Mm-hmm. It's not what made you I never celebrated with fans, so this is so awkward for me.
Nobody tells you how hard that is.
Yeah.
Being the good guy is probably the hardest gig in the job.
It's way harder, yeah, and it was awkward for me, and I was always more comfortable in that heel role throughout my entire career. So this was very, I'm fish out of water in these moments. This was another one for me where now there's a moment here of me coming into the Rumble and no one expects it.
Well, it's time to play the game, and nobody wants to win the Royal Rumble match any more than that man.
Getting a huge reaction, I think, knowing that people will believe in this moment that I see where they're going with this, right? Triple H is going over, there's a moment with me and Foley, like all this really cool stuff happens, but in my mind, I know where this is really going. And it's really going to the John Cena moment of Cena coming back, and I'd like them not knowing that John's coming back. This is super early. You talk about an injury return. John came back like in half the time he was supposed to come back from neck surgery.
What is this? It's John Cena!
They didn't tell me. I didn't know he was coming in.
Yeah, epic, mind-blowing moments. They hit him all day. He walked out, and this was at the Garden. There's so many moments for me at the Garden where there's like things that happen where, like, you can remember in your mind going like, holy cow, this is incredible. This is one of them. Like Cena, that moment of right before they were counting us down and I knew Cena was about to come out. Like I remember thinking like, God, this place is gonna go mental when he walks out here. And they did. This is the kind of stuff that you, as a performer, when you know it's about to take place for a guy, like it's just such a cool moment. I know firsthand, we just talked about it, what this is like, that moment where you come back from that injury and you have it all sitting there and you're gonna get this opportunity to blow the roof off the place. But no matter who you are and how big of a performer you are, there's that moment where you go, well, I hope they give a crap when I walk through that curtain. So knowing what he was experiencing in this point for me was...
There's a ton of anxiety.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Are they gonna care? How are they gonna react? And how am I gonna perform? Is everything gonna hold up? I'm coming off, again, you're coming off of an injury 9 times out of 10, especially when it's the first one. And for John, I think it's the first time he was, that was one of his things, like John never got hurt. And of course, now there's a chink in, in Superman's armor. And that, again, mentally, what that does to you, very difficult.
I knew how this would feel to John, but I remember Taker one time telling me about anxiety that he felt before a match. And it was like, it was mind-blowing to me that Taker felt anxiety. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like I remember him talking about it with me and me thinking like, holy cow, I would have never in my wildest dreams imagined that he had that feeling before he walked out there and all his doubts and everything else. Because to me, every single time I stood in the ring and watched his music hit and walk out, I got chills and like the reaction was massive. I would have never had a doubt in my mind about him doing anything, but yet he did. And that's the human part of the performance where, but it doesn't dawn on you until later in your career where that puts you with people. I think that's helped me in with NXT as well of being able to put my head in performance a little bit and go like, look, it happens to everybody. And again, there's the point at the sign of the WrestleMania. Like, it's funny now, fans make, they're gonna give you the point at the sign, like as if this is this hokey thing that has happened over the years. Like we tell everybody to point at the sign. We don't tell anybody to point at the sign. This is what everybody wants to do. Like you wanna have the moment that you watched when you were a fan of man, I get that opportunity to point at the sign at WrestleMania. I get that opportunity to be the guy that is going there. And you know what this feels like for John, right? This is the stamp on the moment of your back. And I guarantee you, he can't tell you what he says right here either.
Oh, baby! Business is about to pick up!
He trying to run. Probably shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, I don't know what this is.
I don't either.
Oh, there we are together.
It'll be a surprise for us. Yeah,
there we go.
In a minute, this will be the surprise for both of us.
Sweet chin music! Shawn Michaels has eliminated Triple H.
Well, and look, that's one of the we've always enjoyed that, right? You and I, you know, again, we can be the best friends, and then we can wrestle. That's one of those things that you always feel good about. They always believe that we can be friends and then turn and fight at each other the next day, and then be friends again the next day,
and still save each other in peril.
And never go like, oh, that wouldn't happen.
No,
No, with those two it would.
Those always for me, those surprising moments of like you doing that, like super kicking me out there. Those are like shocking moments that you. It's not like they won't believe it, but they just don't think you're gonna go there.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to be able to pull that off.
And I do, as I'm looking at that, I think that's the one I was trying to get to, because I think Taker was the world champion. So I think this is the one where I'm trying to get the shot so that I can challenge him.
So you can face him again.
Batista ambushing Michaels, hanging on, no!
Coming down to the end, I knew, where it was going and ending. And I guess I say that from the personal standpoint. I had that was something that certainly had whatever. I guess it felt it was ready, and I was at peace with doing it and excited about doing it. I don't know. It's one of those things where, again, you just get to a point to where you feel like whenever you step back and you look at this painting of what you've created over time, and you go, no, I like that. I'm pretty good with it.
I don't know if you had different emotions of doubt of it, but like I remember even as you were closing into this and we were talking about it, I remember thinking like, man, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody as comfortable, confident, and okay with I'm gonna be done doing this. Like it was just, you were very at peace with this is the run, and then I'm gonna walk away, and I'm good with that. Like you said, I've looked at my body of work. I'm good with it. I'm good with all this. I'm gonna give it this epic out, and then I'm done. But you were so at peace with it. It wasn't one of those. Most people do it, and it's Rick did it, but it was like begrudgingly, I think almost, and like there's this internal conflict over. I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. I want to retire. I don't want to retire. How can I give this up? I think at this point in your life too, also the wrestling business wasn't everything for you.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
So this is this is in case of emergency break glass Royal Rumble, where we had, man, I'm trying to think how many injuries go down leading into a period of time where this happens. And I remember Vince coming to me and saying, like, what do you think about going to the Rumble? And, you'll win and we'll put the title on you. But, for me, this was one of those ones like, oh, God, like, I'm in okay shape. I'm not ready to be in this spot fully 100%. I'm going to get in there with these young guys. Like, this is, again, one of those ones that tests your confidence in yourself of, at this point, I'm not wrestling much, a few times a year at best. Oh, my God. Can I still do this? Can I still do this at this level? Is this the right call? Are they going to dump on it? All these moments become questions.
But everybody talks about the upside
of
your gig.
Yeah.
And read between, like, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? And the thing is, nobody ever talks about all the really sucky stuff.
Yep.
Again, I'm like, they can call, they've called me, I can say no.
Yeah, you can't say no in
you know
that
what I
spot.
mean? And you got to come and then carry stuff. And you're not allowed to show the chinks in the armor either.
And work a full-time gig, and whether you like the creative, don't like the creative, think it works, think it doesn't, have concerns about it or not, you just got to go, okay, that sounds great, and that's what I'll go try and do and try to make it the best possible thing. So there is a lot to that, and then a lot of pressure on it because I know where all this is going. This is now a point in time where you're trying to make new guys. Like at this point, contrary to probably everybody's belief on the other side, like you said, at this point, I really could give a crap about my side of it. I just want to make sure this is right for these young guys. Am I taking away from them? I don't want to take away from them. I want to make them. I want to try to help Roman get to another level and all these guys. So it's a lot, and it's a lot of pressure of, can I do it and do it in the right way that is meaningful to everybody, and then withstand the crap of like, well, he's getting that because of this, or he's getting it because of who he is, whatever. And
unless it turns out exactly the way every different fan wants it to turn out, which is impossible, by the way. You know what I mean? You're going to take flack for it, and you can't be guaranteed that the people that you do try to hand it over to are ready, we're going to do a good job, or whatever the case may be, or if the people are going to, receive it, right?
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Like, I think the Royal Rumble, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Pat Patterson's creation of the Rumble, and to me, the genius of what it was, and I think it was a hard sell in that time to Vince, but the genius of it, of being something new, something fresh, that just builds for an hour and builds to this epic conclusion and leads you to the ultimate moment of WrestleMania. Royal Rumble moments, for me, I think more about other people's moments in there than I do my own. Steve winning, you know, that first time to get to the shot with you at WrestleMania, you know, you're hanging by 1 foot. Those are the things that appear in my head. Flair winning it.
I was gonna say, and the one that it's funny because the one that stands out to me, and again, is the one that Steve walking accidentally getting.
Oh my God!
And him, you know, that's what he walked. Steve accidentally gets eliminated. He's not supposed to be out, and he comes walking by. I'm out.
Tapping the ring, trying to tell everybody, I'm out, guys. Okay. He missed the top rope on the throw.
You guys got to figure it out from here. And that's one of the things. Again, it's the real stuff that always makes me chuckle.
Yeah, and then you think like, wow, did I just throw my entire career away because I missed the top rope? This is the worst case scenario. Did everybody in this company just lose confidence in me as a performer because there was oil there and your hand slipped off the top rope? Yeah.
That's funny.
And you know, I remember seeing Steve backstage, and we were talking, and then like feeling terrible because like everybody, like one after another, would walk by and go, "What happened?" And he'd explain it. They'd walk off. Another person would come up, "What happened?" Like you just have to repeat this horrific moment in your mind over and over and over to explain it to people. You know,
needless to say, he rebounded okay.
He rebounded just fine, but yeah, you just want to walk around with a shirt on that said, "My hand slipped." Okay. This was a lot of fun. To be honest, I'd forgotten half of those moments.
Yeah,
so
for
to
sure.
be able to go through these, it's like winning the Rumble all over again.